Yeah, I've been recording this whole time.
Oh my God.
And now you can't cut that.
Okay. Welcome to Barcelona. Welcome to Stitches and Starlight. My name is Tazhi and I'm coming to you from Barcelona. Normally, I would say I'm coming to you from my home in Brooklyn that I share with my husband, Joshua, and the two hell kittens, Minerva and Astoria, and those things are still true, but I'm not there this week. This week, I am in Catalonia. I'm in Spain with Mia, and we came for a week to hang out. One, to hit up the Barcelona Knits Festival, and otherwise to just sort of veg and do a friend's trip and see this place that Mia loves so much. This is my first time in Barcelona. I am really looking forward to whatever chaos we get up to. Mia and I have been talking about this trip for some time. We've had this trip planned for some time. And I thought I would bring the camera and take you along. Now, I am not a travel blogger. I am not a professional by any stretch of the imagination, so I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to look. But yeah, if you're interested in seeing what the week looks like, keep watching. I will do some sharing on the Barcelona Knits weekend and what I grabbed. Take you along with me there so you can see the different vendors that are in Barcelona versus what I normally have access to at Rhinebeck or even what I had access to at Flock. And then, yeah, we'll do some sightseeing. You'll see what I see. And then at the end, I'll come to you when the week's over. But yeah, if that's something that you're interested in, strap in and let's go on an adventure. We landed Thursday morning and hit the ground running, pausing only to change our clothes at the hotel. A quick stop at a local cafe for my first of many café con leches, and then we were driving over to the Gothic Quarter. All You Knit is Love is a local yarn shop in that corner of the city, and we did a quick walkthrough and squished all of the yarn on the shelves. There was a cool mix of hand-dyed yarn. The shop owner also has a dye studio and was bringing her work to Barcelona Knits, as well as ruin bases and some local alpaca, and the samples hanging were really lovely. It was a delightful diversion. There we took a tour through the Picasso Museum. My favorite room was the room full of all the pigeon art before walking over to Nomad Coffee for more caffeine. The selection here was incredible, and also the cafe was a perfect place to stop, pause, and add a few rows to my sweater while having a really delicious cup of iced coffee. Friday saw us up and at it on a hop-on, hop-off bus tour of the city, which I highly recommend if it's available in a city you're visiting. Our first stop was the Jardín de Miramar. Hey guys, my Spanish is awful and my Catalan even worse, so please forgive me. It was a green garden tucked into a mountain path that culminated in a castle. Lovely foliage accompanied a windy trek up to the top with lots of places to stop and view the Barcelona coastline, complete with ocean views and sailboats on one side and the cityscape on the other. Unsolicited Tazhi tip: prepare for what feels like an endless hike to find the entrance, but it's worth it when you get to the top. And on the way down, consider taking the slide. 10 out of 10. There are no words for how much I enjoyed the stop at the Museu Nacional d'Art de Catalunya, or MNAC. We didn't have time to do any of the modern art exhibits, but the Romanesque, Gothic, and Baroque rooms had all the things I love about old art, and I left the spaces feeling very small. There's something about the tangible bits of history and storytelling in the pieces of canvas and stonework that really appeals to my love of narrative. I don't need to understand art to feel it, and I definitely felt it there. We paused for a quick lunch of a ham sandwich and a cup of very decadent, very thick hot chocolate, and then wandered over to a temporary installation called Ink Against Hitler, which is full of political cartoons and caricatures drawn during World War II. It was yet another delightful detour, and if the through lines from Nazi Germany to our current reality felt ever present, I did my best to not pay too much attention to it. By the end of the stroll, I was overwhelmed and feeling all the things, but a quick cry on the plaza outside while a man played New York on My Mind, which felt particularly apt, on a keyboard left me grounded and ready to get back at it. Back on the bus. last stop of the day was Casa Mia and Casa Batlló in La Pedrera to see some famous Gaudi buildings backlit against the night sky. I was partial to the ocean-themed one, naturally, and then we wrapped the day up by splitting a pan of very delicious paella before heading back to our hotel to call it an evening. Saturday found us at Barcelona Knits. The energy in the room was palpable, but considerably slower than what I'm used to experiencing at the October New York events. It was a setup very similar to Vogue Knitting Live in New York City, if you've attended, with narrow aisles and less space to actually walk into a booth, which did make shopping a bit difficult at times, but we made do and still managed to see lots of delicious yarn. There were so many vendors I recognized whose yarn I've worked with before, right next to vendors selling unique, small batch yarn made from Spanish sheep, as well as vendors selling hand-dyed yarn on the more typical basis and vendors selling buttons, project bags, and similar notions. There was so much to see and squish and appreciate.
Hello from day one of Barcelona Knits. We are sitting outside the World Trade Center in, how many times will I say Barcelona in this vlog? Probably a million, but I'm just very excited to be in Barcelona. Quick outfit check. I'm finally wearing my study session by my friend Sam. Old hats will remember that I cast this on in January of 2025. It is November. It did take me 11 whole months to get it done, but it is done and it is wearable and it is 100% a forever sweater. And I'm wearing it over a button down. We are going for saucy professor vibes. I think the vibes are immaculate and I think we've nailed it. There are so many makers out here. It is very fun to be in a completely different space and different energy than like my local fiber events. If you're new here, I live in New York, which I would have said in my intro, but like I go to Rhinebeck every year. We are at the complete opposite side of the ocean from where Rhinebeck is. Very different vibes. It's been really cool to hear Spanish and Catalan, which I've learned this weekend is a completely different language, shows you how much I know. But it's been very fun to hear both languages being spoken, to talk to all the vendors. I've already gotten some yarn. We will unpack that later, but I'm having the best time. It has been the best weather. There's been the best vibes. The people are great. We have run into a few people that we recognize and that recognize us. I've got to buy some yarn from makers that I just have not been able to like access. We've gotten to swap stories with people who love wool as much as we do. And I'm really looking forward to just sort of walking around and doing it for a little bit longer. But yeah, figured we stop and knit and do a quick check-in, do a quick hello, and just hang back out.
The space was divided into 2 rooms within the World Trade Center, with 88 vendors split between the 2 spaces, and separate rooms for the classes that were happening all weekend. The courtyard made for a lovely space to stop and take a breath away from the hubbub, as well as sit and knit, and that's where we ran into some friends wearing Lily Kate Makes designs.
Hi, I'm Lily. We're here at Barcelona Knits Festival. I'm wearing my new design, the Lavinia sweater, which I actually got the yarn for at last year's Barcelona Knits from Cocon Yarn. So very special to be able to bring it back in knitted form this time. Nice little subtle speckle with the cables on here. Shows nicely with the light shining through. I'll waft a bit to get the full effect. Yeah, having a great time, a little mooching around. Big use, very busy day. And it's nice to catch up with people. So yeah, I'm Lily Kate Makes on Instagram. Over to you.
Hello, I'm Anastasia. I'm a Freya Sheep on Instagram and Ravelry, and I wear the Lavinia sweater by Lily Kate Makes in Ito Sensai. I think that's Ito Sensai. That's it.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm Naomi. My Instagram is Naomi Joy Knits, and I am wearing a short sleeve version of the Knitty Committee top, designed by Lily Kate France of Lily Kate Makes. The yarn is actually, it's a lot of knitting for Olive, and then this special skein was bought to me by a friend here in Barcelona last year, and it's from Les Petits Points Parisiens, and it is half non-superwash merino and half cashmere.
Hi, I'm Lauren. I'm Stitching Miss Shields on Instagram, and this is the Winnie top by Lily Kate Makes, knitted up in Knitting for Olive pure silk, held with Sanna's gown alpaca folga thread. And she's a little lacy.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. Happy Barcelona Knits.
We took a midday break to meander over to Bos de la Fats, a Lord of the Rings themed bar recommended to us for a quick tapas lunch. The vibes of the space were iconic, and the patatas bravas even more so.
After lunch, we went back to Barcelona Knits in the hopes that it would be emptier and we could see things a bit better. It absolutely was, which meant it was also easier to see more yarn and buy more stuff. There were lots of standouts at the festival, and we had to be choosy with packing space and the budget I set for the week. Found tons of lovely things, as you'll see in the haul portion in a few seconds. Okay, so we're back from day one of Barcelona Knits. Did a bit of, I don't know if damage is the right word, but we did find a few things. The plan was to hopefully only buy Spanish yarn, and succeeded. So I did end up with 3 sweater quantities in very short succession, and then some yarn for some accessories, and then a thing that I wanted for some time, and it just so happened to work out that we got it. So I'll show you what I got. So the first thing is, this is from, oh God, guys, my Spanish is non-existent. Y'all are gonna have to forgive me. Mia will probably end up laughing at me in the background when I pronounce everything wrong. But this is from the Lala Nalu. Okay, we're off to a great start. This is from the Lala Nalu booth, and the base is called Nadir, and it's 100% Spanish merino. And I got 4 skeins of the color Cafe, and it's just an undyed, very cool toned brown. 100% my speed. I love a good brown yarn. I will have to insert like a little clip of us walking through the booth in the vlog, but they partnered with Wool Dreamers to get a custom milled base, very similar to the Wool Dreamers situation where they have the custom milled base, but this is all from wool from the La Mancha region of Spain, and they had it dyed, but I love an undyed wool. And then when I saw this, particular skein, I ended up getting 4 skeins of it. 380 meters, so about 400 yards. So essentially a sweater quantity of fingering weight yarn. No project in mind, but it is mine now, and it's going to go on the shelf. They had swatches of it knit up in block, and it blocked out beautifully. And it's just, I can't say no to yarn with a story. And if yarn comes with a story, it is very hard for me to resist. And I did love the story that came with this particular yarn. Speaking of Wool Dreamers, we popped on over to the Wool Dreamers booth, and I wanted to try some of their new 90 Varas, the new base. And it's, again, 100% merino wool. This is a fingering weight, but I saw swatches of it knit up and it blocked out to a sport weight gauge. It's 246 yards for 50 grams. And I got 6 of this color. This is the color Storm. And I mean, I'm so predictable. It is, I'm going to have to probably put pictures of everything next to the footage, because I'm trying to record this in the hotel room so that the editing and the filming when I go home is not super labor intensive, which does mean that some of the colors are not coming out quite right in this lighting. So I'll have to insert pictures of everything so you can sort of appreciate the colors of everything. But I'm never beating the millennial pink allegations. I was just telling Mia that I swatched from my Pelica, which is in a lighter shade of millennial pink, and this is in a darker shade of millennial pink. So coming back to essentially the same colors, but I got 6 skeins of this and then 1 skein of this. This is the color Sesame, and it is just a like warm taupey, like yellowy neutral color. And I got this to knit the Gramercy tee by Toriu, and she has a long sleeve version in one of the samples. And I was talking about this tee with a few of my friends at Flock because it was on my list of things to make. And I just didn't have the right amount of sport weight yarn, so I didn't make it. And I was like, maybe I'll grab yarn for it. And I ended up grabbing yarn for the coloring book tee instead. But then I saw this, and there was a muddy marled olive green situation, which is also 100% my color. And me and I were staring at those together. And I was like, oh, I know, I think it's the pink. And then when I brought it back, I was like, oh yeah, no, I have once again succumbed to the millennial pink call. It is a siren call, you guys, and I cannot resist it. So I did get these skeins. Show you all of them.
I just dropped one, but I did get this at Wool Dreamers to try the new base. I saw Alicia Plummer was knitting a shawl, like a little shawlette in this base, and it's been on my radar essentially since then. And I'm glad I got some to knit a sweater. Also saw swatches of it, knit and blocked beautifully. These yarns are so fun because they feel really crisp in the skein. And then when you get it into fabric and washed out, especially if you wash out some of the spinning oils, it blooms really, really nicely with some love and some time. One of the missions of the weekend was to get some blown yarn because I'm testing Alicia's new pullover. And so I really needed to get some, like Alicia designed it in a blown yarn. And I've never knit with a blown yarn. And by a blown yarn, I mean like Drops Air or Knit Picks Wonder Fluff, any of those that have like a casing and then they have like wool or alpaca or that sort of thing blown through. And I had planned on going over to Isire to get some Isire Soft, and they only brought 4 colors with them. And none of the colors that they brought with them were really my speed. And I was like, never mind. And then we walked past Katya, and Katya had their cotton merino, which is essentially a blown yarn that is very similar to the weight of the blown yarn that Alicia used in her sample. So I got the 10 balls that I needed. And it just so happens that the 10 balls come just like this. So I ended up getting 10 balls of this, which is enough to knit the sweater. I got the color 138, and these come in 115 yard balls. They're essentially a bulky to worsted weight gauge. And so this will be getting knit up. Also millennial pink. Literally never beating the millennial pink allegations. I might as well just stop trying and lean into it and just call that my new brand. I'm either wearing millennial pink or green or like ochre or gray, I guess. I mean, if you knit in the same color palette all the time, I guess everything matches, and then you never have to try. Hello. While I was at the Katya booth, Mia was talking to me about their sock yarn that she's knit before, and they had these gradient sock yarn. Now, people who've been here before will know that sock knitting is not my jam. It is not a thing that I'm good at. I've knit single socks at least 3 times. I've never knit a pair of socks, and I was never happy with the fit, and that is because like my sweater size, I was knitting the wrong sock size. So I was never really happy with the fit, never really happy with the process of knitting socks. I'm going to try again, and I'm hoping, here's my hope, I'm going to try again, and I'm hoping that that by using this like gradient situation, I might enjoy making socks more than before. So here is the yarn. This is essentially what the sock is going to knit up as. It's going to be this gradient situation. So it's their superwash merino and nylon sock yarn. It's called Symmetric Socks and More. This is the colorway 80. They had a bunch of self-striping and a bunch of gradient yarns. But I can't, if you put like this ochre color with teal and you give me like a marl or a fade or any of that sort of gradient situation, it's very hard for me to resist. And so I figured I would try again to knit socks. I'm probably going to split these into 2 just for like my own peace of mind. I'm going to split these into 2 different skeins, like 2 different cakes. It's already caked. I could probably get a full, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to knit the socks. I feel like if I try to micromanage this, I'm going to make this harder than it needs to be. I was like, should I split this so I have 2 200-meter balls? I don't have to worry about playing yarn chicken. But people have knit socks out of 400-yard skeins. I'm not doing anything special. So anyways, I did get a single skein of sock yarn to hopefully make socks. This we found while I was just walking around. That's how we found everything. But we passed by this Portuguese stall, and I think it was called Roll Up Sheep. And they had some yarn from their own sheep, from like a single flock of Portuguese sheep that is a merino cross. And the yarn is called oh my gosh, Mia taught me how to say this and I forgot immediately. Virgilio. The yarn's called Virgilio, and it's named after the uncle of the person who did the yarn milling. And it is 450 meters on 100 grams. And I got 3 skeins, and it's fingering weight, obviously, at 400 meters. So I got 3 skeins to either knit a shawl or to hold it double at a DK weight gauge and also probably knit a shawl. Just different shawls. I haven't decided yet. The person who was at the booth was like, if you want a larger shawl, just get the 3 skeins so you have enough. I don't know that I will be knitting 1,300 meters into a shawl. That seems like a very big shawl, but I might hold it double and have 650 meters and then knit a DK weight shawl. And that seems a lot more accessible and also a lot more in my wheelhouse than a 1,300 meter shawl. But
again, I love wool with a story, and this came with a story. She had like pictures of the sheep that gave the yarn. The sheep grow either dark brown or white. And then this one is a marl. So they mix, well, not necessarily a marl, it's a mix of the fiber. So they had like a chocolate brown, and then they had the like white undone. Well, it's not necessarily white, but the natural color. And then this was the sort of mixed pile of the two. And it reads in person just like a warm, brown gray taupe situation, which is 100% the type of color that I'm attracted to. So I did get 3 skeins of this from Roll Up Sheep to eventually knit a shawl. Maybe it will be my neck thing project. I haven't decided, but that's what I grabbed. The first stop we made was at Shola. Shola was on Mia's list, and then after I did the tiniest bit of Googling on Shola and looked at their Instagram, they immediately popped onto my list. So I did get yarn for 2 accessories. So the Designed by So-and-so, which I looked up her name the other day and I immediately forgot again, had these salt and stone, old salt stone. You are being incredibly distracting. Ashley, thank you. Mia remembered, thank you. Ashley. Oh my God, it's been a day. Ashley at Designed It by So-and-so had the salt and stone, old salt. I have a name. They're the mittens with the fish. She did the sock with the fish, and now she did the mittens with the fish. And so I grabbed these 2 skeins to knit the fish mittens. This color, this is on their fingering weight base. Also they're Catalunya, right? They're Shola's Catalunya yarn?
Yeah, she's Catalan.
Yes, so yarn from the Catalunya region, Catalan.
She's Catalan are the people.
Thank you.
The region is Catalunya.
Thank you. So I don't know if you heard me, but I will repeat. Catalan are the people, the region is Catalunya. So she's Catalan and the sheep are Catalunya. And I got the shade, what is the name of this? Ali, and the shade, okay, I will put pictures. But these 2 are to make the fish mittens. And then on my way out, Elena, who owns Shola and is the designer, had a Fair Isle hat. And I loved it so much that I got 4 balls to make the same Fair Isle hat. The pattern is not out yet. She said the pattern will be out in 2 weeks. And I said, great, I have plenty of things to knit on before then. But here's my palette for the Fair Isle hat, which again is just very much my colors. There's a green, there's an ochre, there's a dark brown, and there's like a warm brownie taupe. So that's what I grabbed there. And without intending for this, they sort of match. So my hat will match my mittens. And then I'll have like a matching winter set to wear with my black coat. So I have something fun. Now there's a lot of Fair Isle fingering weight colorwork knitting ahead of me, but I don't do it very often. And I figured, so here's part of the reason why I got the Fair Isle, the yarn to make the Fair Isle hat is one of these days I want to tackle like a Gudrun Johnson Fair Isle vest situation, and I'm a little bit intimidated. So I figured if I try a hat, and there are a few rows in the hat that have 3 colors for the color work. So I figured if I try the hat and I do the hat, I'll be a little bit less afraid to tackle like a vest. So I did grab that at Shola. We also stopped by this booth called Camelier, and she had porcelain buttons, and walked past her booth the first time, but it was like a little bit chaotic in there. It was hard to see in anything. And then walked past her booth the second time, and I don't even want to unpack this because look at how the buttons are packed. They're wrapped in book paper. They're wrapped in individual sheets of book paper with a little bit of paper tape. I don't want to unwrap it. Oh, I'm doing a terrible job at it. I was hoping to save the packaging. But I did get 2 sets of buttons. One is to put on my Eva cardigan, and 1 set of buttons to put on my millennial pink Pelica vest. So this is for my Pelica vest, and they're just essentially white porcelain stamped with like lavender branches. And I think that's what it is, lavender branches. No, they're actually like a brown. Again, I will put pictures of everything that I'm showing you guys because the lighting here is not really working for it. And then I did get these larger ones. So these are to put on my Eva cardigan. And the second I saw these gold foil ones, I knew that they were 100% the buttons for me. Me and I went through the button situation multiple times. And you know when you just know, and you keep like looking away, but you know. So I kept those buttons in my hand. I was like, if I find something else that I like, I will put them back. But those are the buttons for my Eva cardigan. So now my Eva cardigan will be mostly knit in Spain and will have buttons that I bought in Spain on them. So it'll be like my firm Barcelona project. And the last thing I grabbed, which was technically the second thing I grabbed, but the last thing that I'm showing you is the thing that I've been talking about for a little bit, and I've talked to a few of my friends about, and I eventually just pulled the plug, and I did get a redesigned bag. This is the project number 10 bag in the dark green. As soon as I brought it home, I was like, Mia, I'm never gonna use this because it feels so precious. Like it feels too nice to take outside, but I'm hoping that I'll actually use it and take it to like a cafe and take it to a restaurant and take it to like knit night. I did get the sizes large enough to carry a sweater around in because I got it at the Stephen West booth and they had the number 8. Nope, they had the number 9 and the number 10. And Mia and I sat there for some time before I was just like, yeah, I guess the 10 makes more sense for me. I do carry around sweater size projects a fair bit. And I do like that I can grow into this bag so that when I have a sweater that just needs sleeves and I want to carry it to the movies, I can sort of open it, I go to like those dine-in movie theaters a lot, so you can put it on the table, open it up and knit your sleeves. So yes, I did grab this. This, again, has been something that I've been thinking about for some time. Brooklyn General at one point had these bags and I was going to go grab it. And then the day I went to go get it, they didn't have them anymore. They sold out. And I was like, maybe that's the universe telling me that I don't need one. Well, now I have one. So that is my haul for day 1. I can't imagine there's going to be much of a haul for day 2. We did all the major shopping that we wanted to do today. We're still going to go back tomorrow and take a look. I'm hoping that it'll be like Rhinebeck day 2 energy. So there'll be a little bit more breathing room and it'll be a little bit less claustrophobic and like space to sort of look at things and poke around things. Mia has a few things that she wants to grab tomorrow. So we're definitely going back. But we'll see. I don't think that I'll be grabbing anything else, but famous last words, since I didn't think I was grabbing anything today. And then that happened.
Fun fact, Mia and I are both aquarium people. How could you not be when the ocean is so blue and lovely and vast? Some of my favorite childhood memories are at my local zoo and aquariums, and I haven't outgrown that. And since the aquarium was right across the water from the World Trade Center, we opted to start our day there. The aquarium boasted the most Mediterranean species of any in the world and had the usual mix of small and large tanks as well as an overhead tunnel you could walk through. I really liked all the anemone species we saw, and we spent a fair bit of time in front of a dark tank with illuminated anemones just sort of drifting in the water. The shark and ray tunnel was a standout, and I did freak out a bit when we saw the penguins because we almost missed them, but then we found a tank where you could bottle feed goldfish and my day was made. From the aquarium, we walked over to an open-air restaurant for lunch and a delicious pitcher of sangria con cava, and then was back to Barcelona Knits. We went back to Barcelona Knits with only a few hours left in the festival, and the energy of the room was significantly different. A lot less attendees today, and you can start to see empty spaces on the vendor shelves, which was incredible to see. You always hope the makers who attend these events do well so that they keep coming back and the events continue to thrive. Today's selections were themed around snack quantities of yarn, which made it easier to try newer bases with lower commitment. Hello from day 2 of Barcelona Knits. We are right back outside in the courtyard outside of the Barcelona World Trade Center. Me and I had a very slow and soft morning that involved seeing lots of fish and eating lots of snacks and then having the best churros and hot chocolate that I've ever had. Mind you, my point of reference is very small because I've never had it before, but we are back outside preparing to sit and veg and knit. Me and I went back and did a circuit through the vendor sort of marketplace situation and did a minor amount of damage, something that feels contained and accessible. We stuck to mainly neck thing quantities this time around because my plan is to not, and I'm sticking to it, not come home with a million sweater quantities. So instead, I bought yarn to make a bunch of small neck things, which I guess is easier to make than a sweater. I don't know. The jury's still out on whether I'll finish this, but we are now going to sit and knit and decompress for a bit. It was much emptier today in terms of just general crowds. Like we're working at maybe a fifth of the people that were there today. Now some of the vendors have been cleared out. Me and I were almost about to buy a sweater quantity of a thing and they didn't have the colors that we wanted. And it was almost like the universe was telling us that we did not need to do that. And thank you universe, and thank you previous shoppers who cleared out Wool Dreamers from having the colors that we wanted. But we're just gonna sit, maybe grab a tea, maybe grab a coffee, do some knitting, take it down a little bit before we go continue our adventure to see whatever this Sunday has for us. I'm wearing my jaunty, because I told you guys what I was wearing yesterday. I have finished my jaunty. I'm saying finish. You guys haven't even seen me start it. I have no idea what order these videos will go up in. At some point you will see my jaunty. If not, this is probably the first time you've seen it. I did make a jaunty in hand spun. This is the pattern by Andrea Mowry. Mine has a spicy corner because I ran out of yarn, but I'm wearing my jaunty, my woolen spun cap that I bought at Rhinebeck. I'm bringing New York energy to Barcelona, and we're just going to sit and decompress and veg and then go see whatever awaits us and how much trouble we can cause next. But yeah, it's been a really good festival weekend. I really enjoyed the energy here. Really enjoyed really enjoyed meeting other knitters. There were a few people who watched the channel that I found in the wild, which is kind of cool. But it was really cool to get like some real Spanish yarn that I couldn't get at home, see some vendors that I wouldn't necessarily see at home, squish some yarn that I wouldn't necessarily get to squish at home, and just sort of soak up the space. So yeah, that's it for me for now. There will be a haul, even though I said there probably wouldn't be, because I did again get a bunch of neck things, but that'll be a problem for future Tazhi. Bye for now. There were still lots of unique things to see that we weren't able to do on Saturday with the crowds. One of the coolest things we encountered was a swatch book at the Knitted Closet where they paired their tweed merino with different shades of mohair silk. And some of the pairings were surprising and made really lovely fabric when laid over top. It definitely sparked some ideas for me for future pairings and also encouraged me to think a bit more outside the box. From the festival, we walked over to a lovely tapas place for dinner before walking through the Gothic Square again for some window shopping. A quick taxi ride later found us back in our hotel room where I finally split for sleeves on my Eva cardigan. Day 2, back in our hotel room. I thought I would quickly show you what I brought. And the hopes is if I do this here, honestly, I can't remember what I said yesterday. I was so tired and I was so loopy. I was probably stuttering. So y'all forgive me if you've made it this far. Forgive me for the chaos that was yesterday. Also, no promises that today won't be just as chaotic. But yesterday I was like tired and I realized that I was stuttering and like stumbling over my words. We'll see if today is better. But yeah, I know yesterday I said I wasn't going to get anything famous last words. I'm sure all of you who watched that was like, haha, Tazhi, you're not getting anything, and knew that that was not the case. But today we stuck to neck things, so smaller amounts, which allowed me to stop at a few places to get a few different types of yarns. First thing that's non-yarn, and the only thing that's non-yarn, is I did get a project bag. This is from the maker Mans Maravillas. And it is a yellow project bag. And I did take pictures of everything because I realized the lighting in here is not my friend. So I would take pictures of everything. Did I need another project bag? No. Will I eventually learn to sew project bags? Debatable. Did I want this project bag? Yes. And I actually stood in that booth for a really long time trying to decide which project bag I wanted. And I kept coming back to a basic drawstring model. They had a bunch of other fun like iterations of it. But at the end of the day, a basic drawstring bag is what I'm going to come back to over and over. Mia and I did end up with the same print. Mia picked hers first, so I am a biter. Just want to make sure that it is clear that I am the biter. Here's Mia's. Mia's is a fun little box, but I just wanted to make it clear that I am the biter. Mia did pick her pattern first. Part of the reason why I went with this one is this is easy for me to throw in a tote bag, and I live that tote bag life. If you watch my Rhinebeck vlog, you would know this. I live that tote bag life, and this is easy to throw in a tote bag. So I did get that. I do have my phone next to me because all of these, except one thing, most of the things I bought with patterns in mind. So we did go to the Knitted Closet, which is a yarn store in Barcelona, and went with purpose, and the purpose was for Mia. And I left with yarn because who is surprised? But I did find this, and this is 2 skeins of their blown, it's a blown Siri yarn. It's called, I forget what the finest Siri, the finest Siri. And this is the color red, and it's 50 grams, 136 yards.
Suri alpaca in a silk and cotton core. So like a little bit different than the blown yarn that I bought yesterday. The Knitted Closet did this really cool thing where they had, and I will have inserted footage earlier, they had a book of swatches, and they swatched all of their merino yarns with different mohair combinations. So you can see how like mohair plays with the colored yarn, and it was like the smartest thing that I've ever seen. But there was a swatch of this knit up, and the lovely people working the booth were wearing this particular color knit into a little neck scarf. And so I was just like, okay, well, that's a deal. That's a no-brainer. So I did get 2 skeins of this to knit and it was a kit. So I got that to knit this particular pattern. I'll put the pattern in the description box. It's called the Gofra. I'm saying that wrong, probably. The Gofra scarf, and the designer was one of the people in the booth, Cecilia Garcia Rodrigo. I'm coming around to Little Neck Thing Land. I wear my jaunty all day, which is a big neck thing, but I'm coming around to Little Neck Thing Land. And while I was there, this is the only yarn I got for no reason, but it's green. And I can't not. And they had their merino tweed yarn. So the base is just called the tweed merino. This is the color Forest. 50 grams for 382 yards, so a light fingering weight. I think this is worsted spun, but I'm looking at this and I'm thinking it might be closer to woolen spun yarn. But it's just a tweed yarn. They had lots of colors. They had a full color palette. Again, I will be putting pictures. Actually, there's space for pictures. I will be putting pictures here so that you can see what things look like outside of this lighting. I don't know what this light is going to look like once I edit it. I might be able to balance it. It might just still be super yellow. So I'm just going to put pictures here so you can see what I got. We did wander over to Mayak, and I did get these 2 balls of their camel yarn. This is one's the color Copper Red, and one's the color Gobi, and it's 50 grams, 190 yards. And I got 2 because there was a sample in the Mayak booth of a little neck thing. Hold the phone, I'm gonna get the name of it. So they had a copy of Field Notes, which is a Lina book that Olga Putano did all the designs for. And there was a sample of the Vyshyvanka shawl. And again, pictures will be here. But there was a sample of the Vyshyvanka shawl, which was designed in that particular Mayak yarn. And I, again, am on team little neck things. I don't know if it's that it's like a little handkerchief, or if it's the idea that I could tie it in my hair, or if it's that I was not a Boy Scout. I was not a Scout at all, obviously, but like I was not a Boy Scout, and I'm like finally in my Boy Scout era, and I just want to wear a bunch of like tiny neck things to tie around my neck and be a little Boy Scout. So we're in a tiny neck thing era. So I did get 2 skeins of that to make yet another tiny neck thing. And then we wandered over. I'm saying, and then this is not in order. This is just as I'm pulling things out my bag. We did at one point wander over to Bichet Bouche, and I got a project bag. It's really, really high quality canvas. I wandered over to Bichet Bouche and ended up with yarn for more neck things. So they had a sample of the La Grosse mohair. So I was in there because I really wanted to try their La Grosse silk, not La Grosse mohair. They had a sample of something in their La Grosse silken mohair, which is their like Aran weight silk mohair base. And I was really looking at stuff and I was just like, this isn't calling to me. But then they had some La Lamb's wool and I was like, okay, show me a thing in La Lamb's wool. And of course, because the universe is unkind, they showed me a tiny neck thing. So they had a sample of their river shawl, which is a pattern by Bichet Bouche, and they put it up and I held it up to Mia, and then Mia did the thing where Mia makes eye contact with me, and it's just like, all right, we're gonna make more tiny neck things. So I did get 2 skeins, red, brown. Also, here's the thing about tiny neck things is they don't require a lot of yarn. So if you're interested in trying a base and you're not sure if you're gonna like the base, a tiny neck thing is a really approachable way to try the base because they don't require a lot of yarn. Each of these required, like you'll see I have a lot of 2 skein allotments. They just required 2 skeins of yarn to make the thing. So I'm going to make the river shawl. It says shawl. It's a tiny neck thing. But I'm going to make the river shawl by Le Bichet Bouche in the lamb's wool. And this is a shade red brown. Is there a more Tazhi color that you've ever seen? No. This is the most Tazhi color to ever Tazhi. If it's either like a coppery color or like a snotty ochre color or like a green, those are my colors. Although I'm coming around to adding red. What I'm learning is I'm coming around to add red to that palette, and that's interesting. I haven't decided which shade of red, if it's like an orangey red or blue red. I haven't decided, but red's coming around. And the last thing I got was also at Bichet Bouche because Mia and I both made palettes to make the Isla shawl. So here is my palette. And here's the thing about this palette. So I started off with a very warm toned version. Here's my yarns. So that's what I got. So the teal is called dark green, so it's not teal at all. dark green is debatable. And I got dark green, I got medium gray beige, and I got dark rose gray. This reminds me a lot of rose gray alpaca, so that feels like a correct term. I started off building a very warm palette. I had an olive green, obviously, like a darker olive green though, and then like a warm salmon color, and then a warm taupe. And I was like, this is me in a palette. And then I started messing around, and I swapped out the olive green. Forgot how I got there. I think I swapped out the olive green for like a warm teal. And I was like, okay, what if we do something fun? Like a little bit, like a little pizzazz, something that like people have not seen me do before. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I swapped out the salmon color for lavender. And I was like, oh, now we're getting interesting. And then I swapped out the warm gray for a grayish. And then all of a sudden I ended up with this teal, and I ended up with a completely different palette than I started with. So this is the cool version of if me in a palette, this is the cool version. And normally you see me gravitate towards warm colors, but I'm trying to branch out for two reasons. My coat is black. I've said this before, all my coats are black. And also it would just be cool to see if I look good in cool colors. So that's what I got on day 2. My camera is dying. I see my battery blinking and it's yelling at me. That's essentially Barcelona Knits. We have 2 more days left. We're gonna go be tourists and go see some more of the city and just veg out. And if there's more, there will be more. And if not, I love you. Thanks for hanging out. Monday morning found us on a bus tour to Montserrat and the monasteries on the mountain. After an early start and a quick bus ride, we boarded another bus helmed by Ivan, the best tour guide ever, and our driver Jordi for an hour-long trip out of the city. The views were incredible, and the history and legends shared by Ivan even more so. This is a cool year to visit Montserrat, as 2025 is the 1,000-year anniversary of the larger monastery. 2 million visitors a year make the trip up to the monastery, which currently houses somewhere around 45 Benedictine monks, as well as a school with the oldest boys' choir in Europe, documented since the 13th century. One of the main features of the tour was a trip to the basilica that serves as a home for the Black Madonna. Carved in the 12th century, the statue sits behind a glass wall, except for an orb in her outstretched hand you can touch to receive her blessing. We eventually went for a wander, popping over to a farmer's market to have mato de Montserrat, a local snack of sheep's milk cheese topped with honey, before stopping to soak in some incredible views, and then was back on the bus down the mountain. After we arrived back in Barcelona, we stopped for lunch at a cafe before going on a promenade through the Arc de Triomphe into Citadel Park. We went for a bit of a wander through the Cascade Monumentale, climbed a bunch of stairs, looked at some sea-themed statues, and then got distracted by a life-size woolly mammoth statue tucked into a corner. From there, we took the bus back like a pair of locals. I love experiencing public transportation in new places. Once we arrived back to our hotel, we opted to call it an early evening and spent the rest of the day unwinding with takeout for dinner and some knitting and spinning. I finished the ball of plain air I bought with me and didn't bring any more, so that project got packed away, and I moved on to this braid of After the Rain on Wee Chickadee's shepherd's wool base on my EEW6 and managed to get through the first 2 ounces before calling it a night. On our last full day in Barcelona, we opted for a later start and a slower pace. I was starting to feel a bit tired after all the activities we'd been doing, so we had a lie-in before making our way over to Parc Güell for some green space and more knitting. The park, designed by Gaudi, featured a mix of lush greenery, stonework arches and towers, large buildings housing museums and exhibits, and terrazzo-styled sculptures and installations, with an amazing view of the city below. It made for perfect knitting and reading time, as there were plenty of places to tuck in and catch a breath between the long stretches of open walkway and endless staircases. We managed to scale another hill. Hiking is not my forte, so the whole thing was a very fraught 5 minutes, and walked the entire loop of the park. The sun was shining, the skies were blue, and the views as we climbed up to the garden were breathtaking. A quick lunch at a lovely Italian restaurant later, and we were back on the bus and heading to the beach. We managed to catch the tail end of the sun as it was setting and parked on a rocky outcropping after a quick dip in the cold Mediterranean. Saying goodbye to the sun as it disappeared behind the palm trees and buildings older than I can even fathom was a perfect farewell to an incredible week. Soft and quiet and warm in all the ways I needed, and in all the ways that mattered. It bathed the shore in gold and pink, blurring out all of the harsh edges and quieting some of the noise rattling around in my head. Barcelona, thanks for showing off. It's been one hell of a week. Hey friends, it is 9:30 Barcelona time, and me and I are in the airport waiting for our flight home, so we're doing this quick and dirty. It's been one hell of a week. I cried happy tears 4 times. Barcelona really did show up and show off, and traveling with memes was an absolute dream. So if you made it this far, thanks so much for hanging out with me. If you're new here, do the YouTube thing, like, comment, and subscribe. Wow, it feels wild doing this in an airport, but yeah, like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss a video, hit the bell, blah, 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 blah. I'm going home to, one, adjust to being back on the East Coast and an East Coast time, and sort of just decompress before I have to go back to the real world. But yeah, thanks for coming along with me on this trip. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed seeing Barcelona through my eyes. I love you. Go make something fun today.